What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Saving Men's Lives Network, where all men and boys are welcome and our issues are treated with the respect that they deserve, where excellence is our goal and our enemies are called out by their names. A place to remind you that you are loved, that you do have intrinsic value, and it suggests that you do yourself no harm. I wasn't even planning on doing a video today, but sometimes factors outside of our control force our hand. Today, the United States Supreme Court overturned the landmark case of Roe v. Wade. This is a gigantic news event that you probably all heard of by now. And what it did was it took away the A word. Gotta be careful because YouTube is weird like that. But the A word that takes out babies before they get a chance to breathe their first breath is now removed from the federal level, returning it where it should have been the entire time, as a statewide issue. The founders of the American government and our Constitution understood that we have little laboratories, if you will. Each individual state has its own constitution, its own Senate, its own governor. Many versions of the federal Leviathan we now have to bow to, unfortunately. And each group of people who live in those individual states get to decide what their state looks like at the ballot box. The American people never before had an opportunity to make their voices heard on the issue. It was simply passed down upon us from on high. My personal feelings on the issue aside, I think this is a big win for federalism. 50 different states, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, and all of our territories overseas are now going to have the people who live in those jurisdictions make their voices heard at the ballot box. A very particular political party here in America would have you believe that everybody's on board for destroying a child before it gets a chance to take its first breath. They want you to believe everybody's a big fan of this process and this procedure. Okay. We'll see. We will see. Because now all 50 states in our territories have an opportunity to find out if that's actually true. Some states, say New York, California, Washington State, they might go full foot to the floor. Up until the day a kid's born, probably. The way those people out there vote. Other places in the country, it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to obtain this procedure. But what is this topic doing on a channel designed to address men and our issues? Well, there's a lot of people, mostly women, who are going to be screeching at the top of their lungs about how their so-called rights are being violated, about how, quote, choice, unquote, has been taken from them. Hilarious. Because we as men know the only choice we have once the semen leaves the tip of you know where, again, YouTube's strange like that. But the split second your seed leaves your body, laws from sea to shining sea, and I would imagine up in Canada, over in the UK, and the rest of the industrialized first world, your rights drop dead right there. If the woman wants to have this child and you don't want to be a dad yet, too bad. If you've been wanting to be a father your entire life, but she doesn't want to be a mom yet, too bad. If it's a girl you have no desire to have a future with. But she sees the economic opportunity of carrying that child to term. What do you think she's going to choose? You see, gentlemen, what this really boils down to isn't a so-called destruction of rights. No. It's not at all what this is about. The reason for the highly choreographed, fictitious outrage you're seeing all over the news right now. Because don't forget, most of these people protesting and outside chanting these inane, idiotic chant points. What do we want? Blah, blah, blah. What do we want? That nonsense. They were bussed in, flown in from all over the country through a process known as Astro turfing. It's the, without getting too far into the weeds, basically a grassroots upswell in any issue is an issue affecting the people, and let's say it's one that's going to affect them negatively. People rising up in the streets to protest this new law, in this example, is a grassroots situation. People are furious about this new tax increase or this new building that's going to be put too close to a schoolhouse where it's going to be some debauchery, like a casino right next to a church or things of that nature. You know, these types of things infuriate the community, and they rise up to say, no, we won't have any part of that. This is organic. This is an actual thing that people are actually upset about. That's grassroots. And the politicians are prone to listen to grassroots activism because they realize, oh crap, our poll numbers show if we go through with this, everybody in this room might not see re-election. Well, what is AstroTurf in real life? It's a petroleum-based synthetic grass product designed to never need cutting, never need mowing, never need raking. Often used in major sporting events in their stadiums, this is a way to never need groundskeepers. Here's the catch. Any football player who's ever played on turf will tell you there's an inherent danger in playing on turf because unlike grass, which has soil beneath it, AstroTurf does not give. So making strong pivoting moves at the last second, say juking out of the way to keep from getting hit by a defender, can have you tear your entire knee or ankle out of joint, suffer huge ACL and MCL damage. Well, in this particular case, astroturfing is when a political party or a very powerful donor to a political party will pay and hire people to go and protest. It's not real. These folks are getting a check. They're getting free lodging. They're getting a free ride to the site they want to yell at. They're getting signs printed up by the thousands. More often than not, by the SEIU. Gentlemen, this is a groundbreaking circumstance. And the reason why these women who have allowed themselves to be used thusly are so upset is because now they're finally going to have to do, for the first time in over 50 years, or nearly 50 years, I apologize, for nearly 5 decades in a row, for the first time, they're going to actually have to A, be more careful with their vaginas and exercise some restraint, B, but depending on where they live, inconvenience themselves to drive or catch a plane or an Amtrak train or Greyhound bus to a state 2 or 3 or 5 states over where they can get the procedure if they still want to go through with it. Or C, here's a thought, actually be better people and take responsibility for their behavior. But we all know what happens when you apply accountability to your modern Western woman. She cracks under the pressure more often than she doesn't. I mean, think about it, fellas. Off the top of my head, there are at least 21. Off the top of my head now. The internet could show me more if I decide to go look for it, but off the top of my head, there's 21 different ways a female who doesn't want to be a mom yet cannot be a mom. At least 6 or 7 of them are available over the counter. I'll read off. You know what? Let me give you a couple. The female condom, which, yeah, they do have them. They're not very popular, but they're out there. The sponge, which is loaded full of spermicide. They squeeze inside themselves. There's the Plan B pill. All 3 of those are available over the counter at your local Walgreens or CVS. Then you got the birth control pill. You need a doctor for that. You need the birth control patch. Needs a doctor's permission. The vaginal ring, the diaphragm. You got injectables like Depo-Provera right in the arm. Or the buttocks. You got the cervical cap. The implantable rod. IUDs. If she wants to get her tubes tied. The list goes on and on, fellas. Lots of options. And let's say she decides to go through with having the baby the full term, right? But at the last second she decides this isn't for me. Well, she can always get a kid up for adoption. There's laws in the books in pretty much all the 50 states called safe haven laws, where, and check this out. Imagine this. A woman can give birth to a baby, drop the kid off at a church, a hospital, a fire station, a police station, and just leave. And have no repercussions to her legally. They won't go looking for her. They're not going to tell the kid where you came from. Nothing. She's off the hook. Entirely. Hence the term safe haven. We don't get that opportunity. Because think about it. For us, we've got 4. They've got 20. We've got 4. Oh, almost forgot one. 16-time Grammy winner Kirk Franklin can testify to this one. She can drop off the kid at a relative's house and drive off into the sunset, never to be seen again. Kirk was raised by his auntie, who was a guiding force in his musical career, and God bless Kirk, he turned out pretty good. Off the hook. You as a man, you've got 4 options, really. You've got abstinence, meaning you're not getting any. Okay, well, that always works. You got the pull-out method, which is not recommended, both for the STD aspect and for the fact that you might not be as fast as you thought you were. Of course, there's condoms. Those are about 96 to 99% effective, depending on what brand and how they're used, if they're sized properly. And of course, last but not least, is a surgical procedure called the vasectomy, where you literally go under the knife to try to keep from having kids in the future. That's our list. 21-4. I mean, that's a pretty bad football game. You know what I'm saying? That's a rough one. But here's the situation. We have a new chapter in American law starting today. A new chapter in political elections going forward, I'm sure. Because there's one side of the aisle, I'll let you decide who's who. You can fill in the gaps. This is a very intelligent audience who absolutely champions the ability to execute an American citizen before they've been born and have thus committed no crime. Because trust me, that's exactly what an A word is. Executing an American citizen who has committed no crime before they ever get the chance to breathe. That's what an A word is. And there's one political party that will stand up and cheer to keep such a barbaric practice legal. And then there's one who doesn't. That understands that a living sperm cell in combination with a living female egg cell, or ovum if you prefer, combines to create a brand new type of cell, all 3 of which have never not been alive. Remind yourself, gentlemen, if first thing tomorrow morning you picked up the paper or you opened up your tablet or phone or computer and you saw on your Yahoo News feed that a human sperm cell was found on Mars, be it living or fossilized, it's the only thing they talk about. Life was found on Mars. Not a fetus, not a cell, no, life. People who don't have an agenda say out loud that life begins at conception. Now, we can have the argument on when the heartbeat begins and when they can feel pain, and okay, I'm a reasonable man. I'm prepared to have that conversation. We can talk about what to do about women who are the victims of assaults, where their safety is taken from them against their will, and those who found themselves on the receiving end of an incestuous assault. I'm not without mercy. I'm not without compassion. We can have that conversation. But the world's worst kept secret, top 5, easy, is that the lion's share of women who line up around the corner at Planned Parenthoods around the world aren't there because their father touched them. They're not in that parking lot waiting to go inside because some guy took advantage of them at a bar when they had a little too much to drink. No. The vast majority of women who seek out what Planned Parenthood does behind those closed doors is there because they don't want to be, quote, inconvenienced with the lifelong responsibility of motherhood. That's the truth. That's the world's worst kept secret. So fellas, in closing, I just want to say this to you. Be careful out here. Please make sure that when you deal with these women, you protect yourself at all times. Use the proper contraceptives that are available to us, and we only have a slight few. Dispose of that item after you're finished. If you have to, wrap it up in toilet tissue and take it with you and dispose of it elsewhere. Because until the laws change, you still have zero authority over your semen once it leaves your body.